Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I am Bishop-elect Vanessa M. Brown, and I am your host and moderator for this evening. And we are excited that you are here. We say welcome to Facebook Live. We say welcome to YouTube. We say welcome to Twitter. And we say welcome to LinkedIn. So if you are on any of those platforms, we ask that you share this conversation tonight. We also give a shout out to Dominic from Bullet in Flight Radio. You can find us on the radio, and pretty soon we'll be up on podcasts so that you can listen in. And so, of course, I always every week like to ask you where you're from. So please tell me what city and state you are from so we can shout you out wherever you're watching from tonight. We want to make sure that we give you that love from Beyond the Gatekeepers to let you know that we appreciate you watching us on tonight. Do me one big favor, as always, and share this program on tonight. I promise you that the conversation is going to be powerful. The author is powerful, and he's going to lead us in a direction that we all need to be going in. And so I see you all already chiming in about where you're from. I love it. And so I am glad. Monroe, Louisiana is in the house. Chella Belcher is here representing Connecticut. I see you. Thank you so much. McDonough, Georgia is here. Colleen, Texas is here. Macon, Georgia is in the house. So wonderful. I believe Brooklyn, New York is in the house. Chicago is here. Chino, California is here. Dublin, California is here. California is represented tonight. South Carolina is in the house. We're loving it. Pastor Dawn, thank you for joining us tonight. Boston, Massachusetts is here. Richmond, Virginia is in the house. Richmond, California is here. Oh, this is so wonderful. Thank you, Marlene McLaurin. Thank you so much. Baltimore is here. Mount Dora, Florida is in the house. Stockton, California is here. East Point, Georgia. Bless you. Nadine Rawls, Elder, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Do me a favor and share on all social media platforms. Mays Landing, New Jersey. And I love when folks get on. And this gentleman, Jack Perkins Davidson, said, this book just got delivered in my mailbox literally an hour ago. So excited to read Willie Dwayne Francois' brilliance. And truly, he is brilliant. We'll bring him on in a few minutes. El Sobrante, California. Oakland, of course, is representing Oakland, California. Shout out. Tell us where you're from. Pleasantville, New Jersey. Blessings. Thank you for being here from Pleasantville, New Jersey. Just while people are telling us where they're from. Toronto, Canada is here. We're so glad you're here. I know that you all have seen the news and probably have heard that Liz Cheney has lost the election in Wyoming. And so, the Republican parties are ramping up. And we want to just bring to your attention that midterms are coming. I want to say that before we get into the conversation. Midterms are coming, and we hope that we are doing all we can to vote. It does not matter. We need to vote in the midterm elections. We need to make changes so that something dastardly doesn't happen again as it did before. We don't want any more repeat performances. Springfield, Massachusetts, I see you. Thank you for being here tonight. St. Croix, look at that. Lovely. Thank you for being here with us tonight. St. Croix, Sheila Todd is here. Fredericksburg, Virginia. Queenie Pamela Lovelace. Blessings, Queenie. Would you do me a favor and inbox me your number? I've been trying to get in touch with you. Queenie Pamela Lovelace. Blessings. Dallas, Texas is here. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, Dallas, Texas. Always representing. Again, I did say Oakland was here. And again, we are on Facebook Live. We are on YouTube. And we can also be found on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. If you are on any of those things, please join us tonight. Yes, Demetrius Meach Edwards, get our people to the polls. It is a must. I see you, Stacey Hamilton, representing Galloway, New Jersey. Thank you so much. I see you, Dr. Chestnut Lee and Herman Lee from Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Thank you for being on tonight. Yeah, more people from Galloway are showing up. Galloway, New Jersey is representing. Yes, we must vote and take 2 people with us. That's what I'm talking about. I hope that you hear me. Now, you know, me and Liz Cheney probably disagree on most things. But in the end, she showed that she had ethics, and she went up against the establishment, and she had to pay for it. But it's okay. You know, we got to speak truth to power. She was willing to do that, and she lost the election. But at the end of the day, we have to stand for what we know is right. We cannot go backwards. We cannot go back to where we were before. Let me say that again. We cannot go back. We must not go back. Oh, yes, North Iowa. Thank you for being here tonight. We're so happy. And yeah, I did hear that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I meant to mention it. Deirdre DeGier is on track to become Iowa's first Black woman governor, and she is amazing. Go look her up. Deirdre DeGier. She's on track to become Iowa's first Black woman governor, and she is amazing. I need y'all to, if you, wherever your fair cities are, y'all look up. I see you, Oregon City, Oregon. Tara Wilkins. Thank you so much, Tara. Blessings to you. Minister Sandy Hudson from Paris, California. I'm going to get to it. Goodyear, Arizona is in the House representing. Yep, still ultra conservative, still an ultra conservative. But at the end of the day, she did what she had to do, something that a lot of Republicans and a lot of ultra conservatives would not do. Liz Cheney did, right? She took it down to the wire. And like I said, there are a lot of things that me and Liz Cheney would never agree about. But this thing that she did, I have to agree, right? So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Egg Harbor Township is here. Wilmington, Delaware is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you are here in our neck of the woods. I see you, Darrell Farrell. Thank you for being here tonight. All of the saints are gathering in. New York City is representing. Chicago is representing. Philadelphia is representing. Come on, don't leave nobody out. East Bay is in the house. All right, we're going to get rolling because we've got a wonderful guest on tonight who is coming. And so I want to bring him on. Dr. Willie Dwayne Francois III, who is the senior pastor of the Mount Zion Baptist Church of Pleasantville, New Jersey, and the president of the Black Church Center for Justice and Equality. I also know that he is a professor at NYTS, an adjunct professor there, and he is the author of the book that we're going to be talking about on tonight. And I am so excited that he is here, Silencing White Noise, 6 Practices to Overcome Our Inaction on Race. Dr. Willie Dwayne Francois, do me a big favor and let's greet the people of God. Just let them know they're coming from everywhere. You know, tell them a little bit about yourself, if you will.
What's up, family from everywhere? Thank you, Bishop-elect Brown, for that introduction and for having me today. I'm really excited about this talk. Also, because I don't want to get in trouble by our president at NYTS. I'm actually on the core faculty at the school, assistant professor of liberation theology there, and also working directing the Master Professional Studies program at Sing Sing Prison and
Awesome.
at Bedford Hills Prison. So
Yes.
starting this semester, there'll be sisters at Bedford Hills that will be able to earn a master's degree like men have at Sing Sing for the last 40 years. But I'm
Awesome.
excited to be here. Heard some exciting places that were listed. Shout out to all the New Jersey folk, New York folk who are there. Love both those states so much. Texas. I also heard Texas. You know, I'm a native
Texas is
in
the
Galveston, Texas. Native
yes.
Texas.
They are here.
We're excited that folks are here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, Dallas and Killeen, Texas are representing on tonight so far. And we've got Cleveland as well. Cleveland, Ohio is here. Rural Northwest Tennessee is in the house. This is just so wonderful. They're from every place. Let us bring in Bishop Pearson. Bishop Pearson is an author, progressive spiritual teacher, and thought leader. And I'm always blessed to have his presence on tonight. Bishop Pearson, will you please greet our audience, our virtual audience on tonight?
Greetings and salutations to all of you. Of course, to our guest, who is a preacher, professor, and a prisoner. Did you say same thing? God bless you. In the ministry is prison enough. I know what it's all about. But
Yes,
you have a whole lot to say. You've written well. I have excerpts tonight. I can't wait to read the whole book. But I just feel that your message and ministry is powerful and poignant. And everybody listening, our country is going through PTSD, particularly the African-American race. We have been traumatized and injured and wounded as a people, almost to the point that it's numbed some people's senses. So we have to cry out to reawaken you that the battle is not over, at least the war isn't. Some battles have been won by both sides, but the ultimate war hasn't been won against prejudice, prejudging people. So prejudice and racism is prejudice and discrimination and condensation and antagonism against people for any particular group. And we all struggle with it. Tonight, we're going to talk and walk through it and find out where we may be insensitive to our own pain and where we have self-anesthetized to the point that we become lethargic and non-responsive. So wake up, folks. This is going to be a wake-up call tonight. We don't want to anger you, but we want to alert you, not alarm you, just alert you. So we all speak up, get up, and get something done. Get something did.
That's right. Get something did is right. Thank you so much, Bishop Pearson. And just to the audience, let me just give you a backdrop if I can. You know, essentially, racism is ever present and omnipresent in American life. We know this. It's present in public life. It's present in private life as well. And we are immersed in what prominent faith leader, Dr. Willie Dwayne Francois III has said. He calls it white noise. I love it. He calls it white noise. Now, I know that when y'all saw white noise, y'all think about the little sound thing that you hear when you're trying to, but that's not what he's talking about, right? And he said the white noise is racist speech, ideas, and policies that lull us into inaction on racial justice. I'm just so glad that this millennial, because he is a millennial, wrote this book. And here is the deal about that. When I talk about him being a millennial, the fact is that a lot of the racism that America has experienced, Dr. Francois wasn't even born. He wasn't alive, right? He wasn't, but so that's historically, but he's lived through and seen enough and studied enough and researched enough, right, to see that the same thing that we were going through 50 years ago, 100 years ago, is some of the same thing dressed in white supremacy and white nationalism that we're going through now. And he wrote this book, and I'm going to encourage you right off the rip. Please, we're going to give away a book, but before we start giving away anything, please purchase the book. And you can purchase the book through Amazon. Go to Amazon and get this book right now from this young man who has something to say. It's going up all over on the Beyond the Gatekeepers page, on Bishop Flunder's page. Pastor Sue, who is one of our producers, is telling us what to do and how to get this book in our hands. We need the book. And then what you do is once you get the book, you need to call your congregations and your justice organizations together so that he can come in because that's how you do it. So he can come in and help y'all go through the book, right? He can help teach y'all at the same time. Come on, and let's bless this young man in the works of his hand. Now, Dr. Willie, do me a favor and tell me why you wrote this book. I think I have a feeling, and I think I know why, but I want you to tell us in the virtual world why you wrote this book.
Yeah, so thank you for that, and thank you to Bishop Pearson for your storied leadership over the years. I wrote this book at a moment when I was really fatigued. So I was dealing with the justice fatigue that I know was only compounded by the unprecedented pause that we were experiencing during during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I know all of us remember the sort of tsunami that happened in a matter of weeks and months, where George Floyd is publicly lynched by a police officer. Breonna Taylor is killed, and no one is held accountable. No one is even identified as accountable for that. Ahmaud Arbery is chased down, hunted down as he exercises, and you see that the nation sort of erupts in some ways, or at least a segment of the nation erupts. And I thought that there was a moment that we had finally said enough is enough for this racial nightmare that we have endured for so many centuries in this country, and then things went back to normal pretty quickly. And that kind of fatigue that I'm feeling from the pandemic, that I'm experiencing by my own sort of distant trauma, watching someone die for almost 9 minutes, and then the string of unaccountability that's connected to that, literally fatigued, and what you find is that there were these outsized Christian voices that didn't represent the kind of Christian voice that I think about, that I tried to live into, that I think folk like Fannie Lou Hamer, Dr. King tried to live into. And so I was in a moment of wrestling and grappling with my own fatigue, my own disaffection with the only nation I've ever known as home. But seemingly I'm not allowed to feel at home here. And then there's this religion that has carried me personally, a religion that's passed down to me by a mother and grandparents, maternal grandparents, who found succor and vigor in this faith, being misrepresented by people who I think had more of an investment in Christian whiteness than a Christian witness. And I said to myself, there needs to be more progressive voices that can start to drown out the monopolization of Christian voices on the right. So I wanted to write a book that allowed me to vent my own concerns, that allowed me to dream without any to dream outside of the lines on what I think this nation could be, but also to dream anew about what this faith in Jesus, what this faith in this Palestinian carpenter, colonized people who come from an enslaved people. I wanted to give voice to that kind of dissonance, that kind of pain and hope that was living inside of me. Pain because of what I was experiencing, but hope because I actually do believe America is better than what we were seeing. And I surely know the faith of Jesus, the religion of Jesus, has to be more expansive, more inclusive, more justice centered than what I was experiencing from the religious right.
You know, that's so powerful. Bishop Pearson, did you want to say something? Because I saw you just shook your head like, Lord have mercy.
The statement Christian whiteness versus Christian witness, I'll remember that. I'm going to write about it. It's a very powerful, self-explanatory statement when it comes to Christian nationalists. Your grandparents and great-grandparents, Dr. Francois, would be elated from what they think. If you compare what they went through to what you've gone to, what you've achieved in the midst of all that, they dreamed about you. who prayed about you and imagined and even fantasized about you. And now you have arrived at a place they never did and wasn't sure you would, but hoped you would. And now you've taken this responsibility to speak out against the subtle racism. And I've said repeatedly that Christians have gotten King James and King Jesus mixed up. They think they're the same people. And they think that go ye to all the world and preach the gospel in 16th century King's English came out of Britain, not Jerusalem. It did. The 16th century English part, preach the gospel to every creature. I have keep emphasizing that they think we're creatures or critters. They do not see us as humans. In the English language, creature means monster or animal or critter. It's deeply ingrained in the psyche and soul of this race of people who believe that white Anglo-Saxon Protestantism is the rule of the earth and that they own America. I noticed that during the Black Lives Matter movement, there were not as many young Black teenagers involved with the same intensity that the white millennials in Generation X was. But the whites don't have families that fought for us. Black young people remember their parents, grandparents, great-greats marching. And it's really, things are basically the same they were institutionally. So we have to wake up. And I know as many Black preachers are just tired. Black people are old and tired. We went all the way up to a Black president, and then it's been downhill since. To go from Barack Obama to Donald Trump, two extreme opposites. And the Christians in general began to demonize Obama, the most Christian president we've had. No lack of integrity or honesty that we've known of, to this bullying spirit. And I think I'm not as concerned about Trump as I am about his followers. There are too many. What happened in Wyoming? The Cheney family has brought hundreds of millions of dollars to that state. They've been an institution, and they would turn off the Cheneys out for Trump, and Trump's brought them nothing. And when they put the mic up to these people's face, it's like a blank expression is on their face. The word noise is a derivative of the word nausea. White people are nauseating. Racist white people is nauseating to the culture. We're actually, as a culture, vomiting. And we vomited up a Trump. We vomited up the racism within this GOP party and other conservatives. We vomited up what has been resident, latent, and subtle, as well as overt in the Christian religion. There's nausea. The nation is sick to its stomach. And you've not seen the end of the vomiting, because it will end up with gunfire and blood in the streets, because these folk want a civil war. They're assaulted. They bought assault weapons, and you don't weaponize your country with assault weapons and not expect assaults. So the white on white crime, they think we gonna kill them, but they gonna kill each other before it's over. And I don't want that to happen, but I pray God that it does. I mean, I don't want it to happen, but it looks like it's happening every day. They're not even telling us. These angry white people with these guns, these young people, they're on the prowl, but they hate the Liz Cheneys more than they hate you or me or my black face. They hate whites that don't get with the program. And so we're going to watch something very powerful and demeaning, upsetting and insulting occur. There is no evolution without dissolution. Mm-hmm. Some things are going to dissolve. So
that's good, Bishop.
Yeah, white Christians and white witness. What was it? White Christian white Christian witness.
Yeah, Christian whiteness over a Christian witness.
Yes. Now let me just say, because this book, you're calling people of all racial backgrounds. So not just a particular, you call people of all racial backgrounds to take up practices that overcome silence and inaction on race and that advance racial repair. And then for you all to know, as the audience, this young man has anti-racist curriculum already. Before he had the book, he had curriculum. And the curriculum is called the Public Love Organizing and Training. Is that right?
That's right.
Plot. It's called the Plot Project. And so talk about the curriculum, and then I'm going to ask you something deeply about this book.
Sure. So the curriculum grew out of community organizing training, but also grew out of my doctoral research, where I was thinking deeply about these same questions about how do we reassert a way of being grounded in the ministry and the life of Jesus, that is actually committed to justice. Again, the kind of deflating experiences of hearing something called Christianity, but not recognizing it as the actual faith tradition that has carried you and your people. So the Public Love Organizing Project is really designed to teach anti-racism, but also teaching anti-racism with a policy agenda, primarily an anti-incarceration policy agenda. That's the organizing and training part, and understanding that the work of anti-racism, the work of doing the introspection of finding out how whiteness bubbles up in us, how the demonic experiences of whiteness sees us, and also the ways that we can exercise whiteness, the ways that we can purge ourselves of the ways that we allow ourselves to become anti-Black, anti-brown, anti-Asian, and the like, which is why one of the foundational assumptions of the book, which grows out of an assumption of the curriculum, is that all of us are actually consuming and communicating white noise. All of us are consuming and communicating ideas that deny Black dignity, that deny Latino equality, that deny Asian peace, right? We're in a time where in the middle of the pandemic, you saw a rise in various types of Asian hate crimes. And I'm cautious there not to lump all Asian communities.
It's still happening. It's still happening.
It's still happening, right?
Yes.
And it's been on the rise for so long, and this pandemic gives us a reason to, particularly this president that we vomited up, as you said, Bishop, his anti-Chinese engagement only fuels the kind of hate that we found on the street. And the reality is, we saw Black people doing that to Asian brothers and sisters as well, right? And so it names the fact that white supremacy can also inhabit non-white bodies. And so we all have to do that work.
They're not ready for you tonight. They're not ready for you. Did you hear? You repeat what you just said, brother.
Yeah, white supremacy even inhabits non-white bodies, right? Is that there's something about the DNA of America that communicates the superiority of whiteness. And I want to be clear now, and I make this case in the book, and I make this case in the curriculum, that when I talk about whiteness, I'm not talking about white skin. I'm not talking about white ancestry. I'm talking about white ideology. I'm talking about ideas and practices that negate the beauty of humanity in all of its diversity. I talk about the gift of my color is a reflection of the diversity of the image of God. The image of God is not monolithic. The image of God does not look one way. The image of God is diverse, right? And maybe I'll talk about a little more of that in a moment. But all of us have to attend to the ways that white supremacy operates beneath our consciousness. Me rolling up my window when young Black men come around as a sign of self-protection. That's white noise. That is allowing whiteness to work in me. I'm talking me as a Black man, rushing into the elevator, trying to close the door before certain, or speeding up on an escalator when young brown boys and girls are around me. These are the ways that in a sense, I heard Eddie Glaude, professor at Princeton, say this before, that white supremacy is so baked into the United States, its laws, its economies, its healthcare system, to an extent, we no longer need white people for white supremacy to exist.
We sure don't. We fear our own people.
And we do it because we're not the problem, but we do it because white supremacy and racism is the problem.
That's right.
That works on us and shapes us and forms us in ways that we're not always conscious to.
Right. And we fear our own people. We fear certain communities. Come on. I'll just use New York City for an example. You know, you don't want to go in Brooklyn at a certain time of night right? We fear our own people. We fear certain communities. We fear certain communities in Chicago. I see you, Natasha L. Robinson. Thank you for being here tonight. Dr. Stephen Ray is with us on tonight. All of you are just joining in. We are talking to Pastor Willie Dwayne Francois III and his book. On tonight, we're talking about his book, a very powerful book. I want y'all to get the book. I need to say it again. Pastor Sue, put it up one more time so that the people can see. Somebody asked me what book we're talking about tonight. Amen. And so we want to make sure we're talking about silencing white noise. This man has written a powerful book, and I need y'all to get the book. But what he just said, we got to unpack it. There are layers to white supremacy. And as he said, it's baked into a lot of us, where we come from, our DNA. You know, we fear each other. We fear our own people. We fear our own young black men, right? You know, we think that everybody's got a do-rag tied around their head, or everybody's got a fitted cap. We think that somebody is doing something. We see a bunch of kids that are in front of a store. We think they're selling drugs. We don't know what those kids is doing. They could just be congregating. But we see stuff on the news, right? Because media plays also a big part in what we see and what we hear in our own community. And they talk a lot about what's happening in our communities, right? So they use the phrases like black on black crime. Well, there's white on white crime too. There's Asian on Asian crime too.
Most crime is intraracial. Most crime is intraracial, right?
Absolutely.
Most white people who are being assaulted by other white folk, right?
Crimes of proximity is what they are, right? And so I think these are very, very important things to say. Bishop Pearson, I'm gonna let you go ahead. You muted.
The Christian religion, before it moved west, was dominated by Middle Easterners and Northern Africans. That was the consciousness. When Paul, bless his heart, went east and took the gospel to Rome, he didn't alone, but it started over there, and Rome became the capital of the Christian world. It began to be Aryanized.
Yes.
It was colonialized and imperialized through the Roman government, and it still is dominated by that mentality today. The first pictures of Jesus any of us saw, maybe not you, Pastor Willie, but your mama did, and it was a white man. And we can say, you two, and Martin Luther King, John Kennedy, and Jesus was in there, all of our homes. So two of them is black, and all three of them are dead. Jesus is resurrected. We assume the other two guys are too as well. But the everything that was right. The scripture says God is light, and in him there is no darkness. Ignorant white people interpreted that scripture the way I just paraphrased it.
Sure.
God is light, meaning God is white. Now in our culture, whiteness, from white clouds to white people, white clean white sheets. The devil was black. We're black. Darkness, night, demons. I mean, we're dealing with a language issue, and the language is in the psyche. We are taught their language. When I traveled first to Africa, it was to South Africa, and I saw the blatant racism. That was back in the 70s. But until I went to the rest of the continent, I didn't realize that throughout the rest of the African continent, there is not near the sense of discrimination and low class, and there are poor people, of course, but they don't feel white racism the way we feel it in America. We are scarred by that, but it's also ingrained in us because we learn to speak the English language by reading or having read to us the King James Version of the Bible. Slaves, obey your master throughout. We were humiliated. We were indoctrinated. We were encapsulated by them protecting us from them. And so the Christian faith is the basis of racism in America, particularly the Southern Baptists, the largest Protestant denomination in the world, and in America, and the most influential. They are called Southern Baptists because Northern Baptists and Southern Baptists disagreed over the abolition of slavery. So it goes way, way back to that deep root. And I hate to say, and that Christian witness and Christian whiteness thing is working on me. The witness of Christ from white people made us subjugated to their dominance. And we bought into it because when I was a kid, all the billboards are white, all the actors, and every once in a while you'd see an Ella Fitzgerald. Ella Fitzgerald or who's the Amos and Andy, Mr. Armstrong, Louis Armstrong, people like that occasionally. We hardly ever saw white people. One of the reasons I became popular was because I was one of the first black preachers on nationwide television. Sure. And I'm only 69, but I came on around 40. Shouldn't have been that new. But it was like, there's a black man. They don't know his name. There's a black man on TV. I used to hear my parents, there's a spook on TV. We'd all run in there to watch it. So we're still coming out of that. And we have to dust ourselves and thrust ourselves. We were tribalists at first. Now we're survivalists in America. And the survivalist mentality is what's crippling us. We need those tools emotionally, but we can't rest as survivors. We got to arrive and thrive as a people. And the last generation to remember with the kind of pain that my mother does, and she's 92, they're passing off the scene. So you're new. You have a fresh awareness of self-dignity, security. You're smart. You're articulate. You're a thinker. You're curious. You're adventurous. You're bold. You represent a breed that must be multiplied. We don't just want to read you. We want to breed you in spirit to a culture or an entire culture who don't know how to be embarrassed or ashamed because they were brought up in interracial. They have same-sex relationships. They're best friends with atheists and Hindus and Muslims and Jews and Japanese. And it's just a beautiful pluralistic world out there that the younger generations were exposed to. School segregation, integration started with me, with my high school. I was in 1968, right after Dr. King was killed. My first year was in the 10th grade. I had to go to a white school, and I hated every minute of it. My mom, not my mom, but my grandparents on both sides, my aunts, cleaned houses in that neighborhood. So I was already demeaned. I was already insulted. They looked at me as a foreigner. The generation after me didn't have to go through that the same way, and all the way down to the most recent teenagers. So we have a great opportunity right in front of us with a whole generation that is not as jaded as even I am, who don't look twice at integrated couples, who don't look twice at same-gender loving couples, who are not distracted by a redneck the same way we are. A Southern accent intimidates me because I'm from the West Coast. When I hear a Southern white man, especially if they got a cowboy hat on, I want to slap him. And I shouldn't, but I just immediately assume, especially today since Trump hit, every time I see a white man, he's a racist, especially in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm struggling with that, to be honest with you. And I'm pretty loud about it. And I'm angry.
Yeah. Pastor Willie, you want to respond?
I think this is so powerful to hear you say this, particularly as you were talking about the Southern Baptist Church. I think we should always remember, just thinking, you said something that was powerful, that Christianity has really been the bedrock of the racial nightmare in this country. And I think that's so powerful because a historical point is, you have a decade plus before South Carolina secedes from the Union, the Southern Baptist Church splits from the Northern Baptist Church. Right. The Northern Methodist Episcopal Church splits from the Southern Methodist Episcopal Church. What we're saying is that the Church of Jesus split over the issue of slavery before the United States split over the issue of slavery.
Oh,
so you have the church that becomes the precursor to the church has its own civil war before the nation has a civil war, and we can't edit that out of the history of Christianity in this country. And not to mention when we talk about how Christianity goes west, and when Christianity goes west, it becomes allied with empire. You have Constantine, who is no Christian at all, right? He becomes a Christian as a way of attempting to control the empire, political reasons, to hold his empire together. And the reason many of us believe what we believe about Jesus, what we believe about the Holy Spirit, is because Constantine says, I'm tired of you all fighting over this. And say, let's just close the door. And when you come out with an answer, and whatever you all vote as the answer, that's what we're going to uphold. And what happens? The people who disagree with the majority, they're killed, they're jailed, right? That is the kind of Christianity that we see now, where we don't even have space to disagree with each other. Before Constantine, Christian communities were able to disagree on doctrinal issues and still see each other as brothers and sisters in the faith. It's a matter of how the religion about Jesus becomes co-opted by power, like military, like whiteness, like maleness, that we see that it becomes a tool of violence and a tool of hurt. But this is what I love about my people, our people, Bishop and Bishop elect, is that on the same plot of land, you have the plantation chapel where the white slave masters preaching slaves obey your masters, and then just maybe about 20-30 yards into the woods, in the clearings, you have, on the very same day, you have our ancestors in the brush harbors talking about how they have shoes, and everybody has shoes, and all God's children have shoes. And so part of what we have to do is figure out, how do we abolish plantation religion and lean into brush harbor spirituality, a spirituality that says that we are dignified, that we are affirmed by the presence of God that lives in us the same way it lives in any white person, a God and a Jesus that says we do not have to be slaves because we were not born to be slaves. On the same plantation, you have two different versions of Christianity, one committed to slavery, the other committed to freedom.
Right.
This is good. Now, you call yourself an abolitionist. I want you to tell the people why, and then we're going to get into the content of the book. And for people that are just coming in, because I keep seeing it go up, what is the name of the book? The book is Silencing White Noise. The author is Willie, Dwayne, Francois III. You can get the book on Amazon. And so the links have already gone up, and you can just go there, get the book. But I wanted to say, now you talk about the fact that you're abolitionist, and then you just mentioned Brush Harbor spirituality. And I know for a fact that a lot of Brush Harbor spirituality contains a lot of African indigenous faith, right? The thing that we were taught to vilify in Christian church, the thing that we were taught to, they said that's voodoo or that's witchcraft or that's not of God, was the thing that brought our ancestors through and ancestors over in those times. So share a little bit, if you can, with us about abolitionists, about Brush Harbor spirituality, and then we're going to get more into the book.
God has to be bigger than any single religion. God just has to be bigger than any single religion. And particularly when we talk about the God of love that has this open embrace of all of creation. And as a human, I can be a human supremacist sometimes. But God has a particular love for the human person. I do believe that. But I consider myself an abolitionist because I think Jesus was an abolitionist. Of course. When I talk about abolitionism, I'm talking about the practices and the belief that systems of oppression and systems of domination can be gutted. They can be removed, and something else can be erected in their place. So I call myself an abolitionist because I believe that there can be a world without poverty. There can be a world without prisons. There can be a world without racism. There can be a world without predatory capitalism. And so my commitment to abolitionism is me as a person of faith. It takes great faith to say the oppressive world that we've only known can actually be something radically different than it is right now. And I get that from Jesus. There's a reason why, Jesus borrows the words of Isaiah for that first sermon, that first recorded sermon in Luke chapter 4, where Jesus talks about the Spirit Lord upon me, being upon him, right? Like that I love the fact that we can have a relationship with the Holy Spirit that gives us the power to shout and strike, the power to speak in tongues and speak truth to power, the power to speak in tongues, in unknown tongues, and the power to embrace people who speak in known tongues that are different than ours, right? I love that we can have a Holy Spirit that can be with us for praise and for protest, right? Jesus says the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And then it's to speak good news to the poor, right? That sounds like anti-poverty engagement, right? To the recovery of sight to the blind, that sounds like access to affordable health care, right? Talking about the setting the captive free, that sounds like abolition to me. And then Jesus is bold enough to say, and to declare the acceptable year of the Lord, the year of the Lord's favor, which we know is the Jewish concept of the year of Jubilee, which was every 50 years, the land would be given a rest, debts would be forgiven, slaves would be released. To me, that sounds like freedom and reparations, right? So I lean into this because I think Jesus is an abolitionist that shows us that there is another way that we can do life in this life.
Listen, this is the kind of preaching that everybody need to be hearing so they can get themselves set free. And what we need to do, because you sound like a young Martin Luther King. Right, but you got a different twist on it. You got a different there's something that about listening to you and hearing what you say, and then I hear the Bishop Barbers of the world. You know, I think that there is a way that we have to walk alongside so that we can get other millennials and generations that are under you to hear what is being said. This is a message that needs to be heard. This is a message that needs to be heard. A lot of young people need to hear that, yeah, I can speak in tongue, but I can speak truth to power too. You know, a lot of people need to hear that we can have this brush harbor spirituality. You can light a candle to your ancestors. You can have an altar at your home. You can have photos of your loved ones up. Come on. You can pour libations. Come on. You can do, yes, Bishop. You can do all of those things and still love Jesus at the same time and still strike back at empire all at the same time. It's a trilogy, right? It's not all one thing. Go ahead, Pastor.
And we remind ourselves that Jesus was not a Christian, right?
That's right.
And we embrace that Jesus is not a Christian.
That's it.
Right. Book title, that God is not a Christian or Jew. Well, one of the great challenges, Dr. King, remember, he wasn't even 40 years old when they assassinated him.
Correct.
One of his great ambitions and his great challenges was not only to speak truth to power, but he really had more difficulty speaking truth to the powerless. We wouldn't listen at first. We're listening now.
Well, we got mad at him. We got upset.
Right.
Come on, we can name them ones. A. Philip Randolph, Adam Clayton Powell. They wasn't rolling with King at first, if we tell the truth about it. Right. They were mad because he was messing up their money. Okay, I'm gonna go on that.
It was from a black woman who stabbed him. So, and they said a white man said he was a communist, and we believed it. So we still have that element out there. Just be quiet, son, and just thank God that you got a degree, and go pastor a little church somewhere, a big one, but don't upset the cart. Don't put these books out and get these white folks angry at us. That spirit is still among many black.
It's still amongst. It's an age range. It has to do with demographics. I can tell you for a fact that some people, not all, but if you are over a certain age range, if you're in your 70s and your 80s, like my mother, you are one of those people. You're not going to find that many radical in that way. My mother grew up in Jim Crow. I said this before, right? So she was the eldest in her family. Being the eldest in her family, she had responsibility for the rest of her siblings. It was six of them. She had responsibility. Her responsibility was to get them dressed, make them look good. When they were presented in public where the white people are, they had to look a certain way. They had to dress a certain way. There were things that my mother had to do. She's 83 now, but my grandmother would not have it, right? And so there were things that my mother had to do to make sure that when they were presented to the white folks, that they looked a certain way, that their hair was done. Come on. That my uncle, he was the only boy that his shirt was tidy and white and pressed, and his shoes were, my aunts had to look a certain way, and my mother was responsible for that, right? And so when I started being out and loud, and it was like, what you doing? First of all, where your hair at? Where's your hair? She didn't like the look. She didn't like, you know what I'm saying? She didn't like the presentation, because that is not what she grew up with, and that is not how she raised me. So you are right, Bishop Pearson. There is still a mentality. Don't make so much noise. Don't make the powers that be angry.
And be
what I'm saying? And be grateful.
Grateful for what you got.
Yes.
You ain't going nowhere with that beady head.
That's right.
You know,
That's
he
it.
was half white.
It's true.
And so they, you know, beady head Negroes wasn't popular when I went with her to the rich white people's house. You ain't going nowhere with me looking like that. Get in there and put some lotion on that ashy face and ashy toes and hips and heels. Well, we were afraid of our blackness and our whiteness because we was white in the morning before we had put some lotion on right after the bath. We need some kind of therapy because everything we did was wrong, from our hair to our teeth. Most black people don't show their feet. And many black women tie up their hair because the white man didn't want black curly cues in their food. To this day, black people tend to cover their hair when they go to work, and they will never show their feet. Even athletes and people like that, they made us ashamed of water and ashamed of ourselves. So we have to work through a whole lot of therapeutic shifts and changes. Now white folks trying to get lips as thick as ours, hips as thick as ours. They're trying to get, I call them colored tails. They're trying to have these white girls, they've been eating something that brought them tails up a little bit. They're a little bit more bouncy. My brother and I used to make fun of white girls. But now they want our style, singing, our looks, our feel, our intonations. They love us and they won't admit it.
It's true. And Dr. Willie, Pastor Willie, I wanted to say, so this book, let's get into this book, y'all. And I see somebody said I got a question. Okay, let's get into the book, y'all. So you give us 6, somebody wrote this, they called it Rhythms of Reparative Intercession. I love that. Rhythms of Reparative Intercession. Somebody put that in the chat right now. Rhythms of Reparative Intercession. You give us 6 moves, right? 6 practices of anti-racism that aim to repair harm by speaking up and acting up on behalf of others. So if you want to know what Silence and White Noise is about, this is what it's about. And the content of the book, you dive straight in. You like, hey, this is a drink. If you drink gin and tonic, you don't get no chaser. If you drink vodka, you don't get no chaser. If you drink bourbon, you're not getting no chaser. And you just pour in the drinks, right? No chaser. You straight with it. And you say, why are we lulled to racial inaction? That's your first introduction. You ask a question, right? And one of the things that, now I can say is that basically it's not the only thing, but one of the things you just said was that because we deal with some of white supremacy, God bless you, within us as well. We have become conformed to it. It's a part of who we are. And so that is also a part of the reason why we're sleeping. People saying stay woke, but that's why people are saying stay woke, because we've been sleeping for a long time. We've been lulled to sleep by white supremacy. We've been lulled to sleep by Christian nationalism. We've been lulled to sleep by all of these things that we experience, even in the church. When the church was supposed to be waking us up, we've been lulled to sleep by preaching. And I'm not talking about because the preacher was long, right? So you go to the first thing you say, and I see y'all coming in. Thank you so much for being here. Cues to color, embracing difference as gift. Say a little bit about that, but don't say so much that they don't get the book.
Right. That's the hard part. So what I hope is formed from this book are people who have a new commitment or a recommitment to anti-racism, to the work of ending racism and how it intersects with all other types of isms, right? And how I talk about this work of being anti-racist, this work of showing up in the world is this idea of reparative intercession, right? I draw from my own faith tradition where we talk about a model of prayer as intercessory prayer, but really thinking about my intercession is not just my prayer, but prayer is so surely important. But my intercession needs to be political. It needs to be social. It needs to be it needs to be economic. It's about showing up for other people. It's how I use my speech and my action as a way of working on behalf and alongside those who are unrepresented and those who are silenced in our world, right? It names the fact, right? If I'm going to be an intercessor, it names the fact that I do have some levels of power. I do have some levels of privilege, and I have to use that power, that privilege through my voice, through my actions, through my ideas in ways that start to disrupt how racism is at work, but also to repair the harm. And this is the work that all of us can do. So when I talk about being a reparative intercessor, I'm talking about taking up oral and attitudinal and behavioral practices that start to turn down the dial on how racism is at work around us and in us, but start to build a moral muscle so that we can overthrow what's happening in our world. And so I named 6 of these rhythms, right? The name of the book is Silencing White Noise, 6 Practices for Overcoming Our Inaction on Race, right? And at first, you know how publishers can be. You know, they want you to say it's so accessible, so simply, right? And I'm like, practices. I feel like we're reducing it, but it's powerful because I know a lot of books that help us talk about race, a lot of books that help us understand race, but there aren't a lot of books that actually say, here are some practices, here's some things that you can actually do to start to grow that. Let's get in the anti-racist weight room, right? Let's start lifting some weights morally and spiritually so that we can do this work. And so I named 6 of these practices. I love the fact that you're already catching that idea of rhythms, right? I had to lean on rhythms because what I'm talking about is not a science, it's an art.
That's right.
It's to be played with. It's to be improvised with. I just want to give us a guide that we start to experiment, with which we start to experiment on our own. So I call them rhythms because they're artistic, right? They're supposed to be played with. They're supposed to be experimented with. But I also call them rhythms because it was rhythms that kept our people alive in the belly of ships as they moaned because they didn't speak the same language. As they begin to cry out melodically because they didn't know how to speak to each other in any other way, but also what happened in those brush harbors that we just talked about, where the ring shouts were happening.
That's it.
Where people were dancing and moving, and what W.E.B. Du Bois calls the frenzy. When I was growing up, they used to call it catching the Holy Ghost, right?
That's right. That's right.
The way that we demonstrate that we are being moved and possessed and repossessed. I like that better. Not possessed by, not simply possessed by the Spirit, but repossessed by the Holy Ghost. That we're brought back by the Spirit of God from the spirit and the doctrine of whiteness. So I call them rhythms for that reason. And the first one you just named for us, I know you said a moment, was cues to color, right?
Yeah.
This idea of embracing difference as a gift. I don't know about you all, but I hear so many well-intentioned white folk that say, well, I don't see color. When I look at you, Willie, I don't see a black man. I just see a man, right? And my issue is, no, I actually do want you to see me as a black man because my skin color actually tells the story about what the country has done to me, what this country can do to me, what this country has done to people who look like me. And so there needs to be a gift of being able to see difference and to say that difference has a potential lived outcome connected to it that we cannot deny, that we cannot ignore. Like me being a black man, we being black people here leading this conversation actually has serious social meaning in this country. And to deny that is to deny parts of our experiences.
That's it. Absolutely.
Not to deny part of the truth of what this country has done to black folk and what it continues to do, right? I try not to say what this country has done only because of the things that are consistently happening to black folk. I can't go to Tops grocery store in Buffalo without the threat as a senior, without the threat of being killed. The only place you can really get food in a food apartheid place like Buffalo, I'm not a child in Uvalde, Texas, right?
Can't go to school.
Working there to some extent as well, right? The fact that what happened on January 6th was
Yes.
fueled by both race and religion. It matters. And so if we don't honor color, right, and not honor color as a way of outlining deficiencies, but honoring color as a way of naming differences that actually represent the brilliant, beautiful diversity of God. I actually want to be seen as a Black man, because that also helps me to be understood, because it gives insight into the social experience that so many white women and white men have no access to.
That's right. And when you say you don't see color, you're saying you don't see me. You don't see my Blackness. You don't see my manhood. You don't see me as a Black man. You don't see me as a Black woman. You don't see me. And if you don't see me, then you don't see my experience. So the thing is, when you say you don't see it, are you really not seeing it? Or are you ignoring it because you know about it? You just don't want to deal with it, right? And I want to be dealt with. I want to be seen. I want my experience to be recognized.
And Bishop-elect, and I'm sorry, Bishop.
I was just going to say, one of the things that we mustn't ignore is that these vicious, racist, fascist people would rather completely destroy America than accept their downgraded place and less dominating influence in the changing tides of history. They know their days are numbered, and they don't care about. There's a lot of people that will protect their denomination before they will the Bible. These people will protect their party before they will the Constitution. Why the anger? The vicious anger is unprecedented. The burst that we saw on January 6th, we saw it here 100 years ago when they leveled 40 blocks in the Black Wall Street. But we don't want to miss, why are these people, we've not done near to them what they've done to us. Yeah. When has the FBI had to be put on alert, the FBI, and on alarm against the threat of violence and death from any other source outside or inside our country? Blacks never were a threat to the FBI or the CIA or to this country. White people are angry white people. And why are they so angry? Maybe you'll do a book on that, Doc, because you got a good grasp. But I'm studying this vicious anger. It's been latent. We weaponized the country. We've given them assault weapons, and they're going to assault themselves first. We won't even have to do it. They're going to kill each other. They're doing it already. And this happened in the Civil War. We never had more Americans killed in any war, all the wars combined, than we had in the Civil War. It was not very civil. They were civilians, but it was not civil. True. And we shouldn't call it a civil war. It was the most vicious, violent war in American history, including the Revolutionary War. So we're right. We're one gunshot away from that.
Yeah.
One bullet away from an explosion. These people are so heavy laden. Now, Jesus said, "Come unto me, all you that labor," you talk about an abolitionist, "and I will give you rest. All of you that are heavy laden and burdened with religiosity." He was referring primarily to the Jewish weight, but also religion, period, would relate to us today. We're one decision away from the total dissolution of the democracy that we call America. So we need to alert and notice how these angry Republicans are so they're brainwashed. There's some kind of supernatural occultic thing, mystery, and that has these people souls bought into I don't know where Putin has something on the Republicans or what, but I've never seen this side so boldly and arrogantly displayed when it comes to racism. That means they've lost their fear and they're planning to go down fighting. So we need to be protected, and not just to be survivalists or tribalists. We need to own America again, not make America great again.
Yeah,
that means make America hate again legally. We have to make America the first time all over again.
Yeah.
We built it physically. We got to build it emotionally and spiritually now.
Yeah, that's the Langston Hughes. Let America be America again.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But America never has been America to me, right? I mean, this is the powerful pieces because what it also means to embrace difference as a gift is to also name the divinity of difference. right?
Mm.
Is that if I'm created in the image of God, that spark of divinity that is within me is also connected to the particularity of my identity, the particularity of my identities. And I think that's terribly important, because, and I want to say this, is that yes, it is about people seeing my blackness, but it's also about white people seeing their whiteness, right?
Yes. Yes.
Seeing their white skin. In that second chapter, that first chapter of the book, I talk about the need to not settle for white guilt, but to move toward white grief. It's that this is not an opportunity for us just to sit with the loaded emotions of guiltiness, but this is a time for us to grieve, and grief connotes a death. That something has to die so that humanity can actually live, right? I talk about whiteness has to die to us so we don't die of whiteness.
Yeah.
Right? It's that we have to grieve the whiteness that is in us, particularly those of us who identify as white, right? That we have to grieve the death of what that means as it is now. And grief is not just a feeling of remorse, a feeling of lament. Grief is a process of healing, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
so we can't get stuck at the guilt, because guilt does not necessarily lend itself to healing. And so I call us to, as we honor color, as we honor difference, it requires the death of something that wants us not to see that difference. The death of something that wants us to make that difference evil and demonic. We have to see the death of that and then grieve it in a healthy way.
That's right.
Wow.
That guilt makes us go down into more shame.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes us hide, and it makes us not want to deal with whatever the situation is at hand. But that grief is the thing that will heal us. That grief is that thing that calls us up and out of shame, right? And out of guilt, so that we can deal with the situation. Bishop Pearson, I know you want to say something.
Jesus spoke about new wine bursting old wine skins.
Yeah.
There's plenty of new wine, but there's not enough new wine skins. I'm tired of old wine skins, and old wine olds. I mean, drunk on the religious dogma and conditions of mind that have brought us to where we are today. We got to change this.
Yeah.
We have to rethink everything. The divinity of diversity is the most beautiful representation of the human species. And we are being upgraded, but it looks like we're being downgraded. There is an exposure of what ultimately needs to be expelled from our country. That's what's happened. That's what happened in Wyoming. That's what's happening politically. We're watching these angry white people, and anger is a signal emotion. It signals emotion, commotion, or devotion that has not been properly processed. I have to go. I've been angry. I've never been this angry in my life, and I'm 7 decades old. I'm having to deal with my anger. What am I not properly processing? When you ignore the truth, and that's what ignorance means. Ignorance doesn't mean not to know. It means to refuse to notice or to make note of. What your book is doing is making note of something, not only to African Americans, they think it's to us because you're an African, but to white people. About white people. There are millions of white people that despise what's happening among the conservatives. They're turning on the Christian church. They're turning on evangelical Christianity. They're Episcopalians and Presbyterians and others and atheists, as well as people who are expanded in their consciousness. And Trump lost by 3 million of the popular vote in the first election and 7 million this last time. He's never won an election honorably. The Electoral College needs to be disposed of course. That was put in by anti-abolitionists in the South. Most people don't look back at how we got the Electoral College. It's all racism. Institutional racism is very deeply rooted in this culture and in the consciousness, as well as the Congress of the United States. And so there's so many different angles and so many different ways that we have to look at this and approach it. Critical race theory. They don't even want to remember how mean and vicious these folk are, and they're Christians. The thing about that bothers me the most is they claim to be Christians, most of them. Trump wouldn't have ever been president without the church. Vladimir Putin knew that religion and race were the strongest and weakest attributes of this country. When Ronald Reagan said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall," Putin heard it, and he I went, whatever occult practices, whatever shaman, whatever he did, he brainwashed through Donald Trump a whole nation, almost, at least tens of millions of us. And there's spiritual, and I've been rebuking and binding, casting out devils and fasting and praying like I've always had around this whole spirit, because this is not just flesh and blood. We wrestle not against blood, but against powers and principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places and hidden places. We'll be shocked to find out that maybe some of the documents that Trump was hiding was hidden so that he could use them as bargaining chips to get money from Russia or to save his butt from going to prison. He had a plan in taking those papers, I promise you. And when that comes out, I want to see what these big supporters of their Lord and Savior say about that. This guy's a thug, and I hate to keep bringing that up. I know that's not the point of this conversation tonight, Bishop-elect, but I have to bring that in because that is big in our face. To ignore it is irresponsible. We're dealing with the most pronounced egoic, misogynist, homophobic, racist, bigotry, fascism through the church that we've ever seen in the history of this country since the Civil War. That's no small language. And so it's been a cold war, but it's not cold anymore. It's very hot. And between now and 2024, America is going to be shifting in strange and conspicuously strange ways. The whole rest of the world, I was talking to somebody from Japan last night, and they were saying they think Trump their whole appraisal of democracy, Christianity, and America has changed. All parts of the world through that one man and his influence, because he brought out what's been living in the interior of this country, in the soul and psyche of America for 400 years.
Yeah.
And now people like you whose ancestors were abused can articulate it under the anointing and with scholarship and academia and psychology and spirituality and theology. You're bringing it forth. You're one of a very few. The numbers will multiply, but right now they're small. But you are saying something, and I just want to encourage you, Pastor. You are on to something not only very powerful, very, very prophetic. And you have to view that. I'm sure you do. Weigh every decision against the backdrop of eternity. You're no small, and what you're saying is not small. You'll write a lot of books because you're a brilliant mind, and we need you.
Yes.
And we need to read this book, and we need to pass it on to our friends and make it downloadable. Go back and record it audio and make some people.
It's audio already.
Well, I'll pay for an audio for somebody want to buy an audio book tonight, just because people are driving, places like Atlanta and LA, they're in their car for long hours and they'll listen to the audio. I know
he's prompting me to just say, buy this book for somebody. Don't just buy it for yourself. Buy this book for someone. Just pass it on. It's an audio book as well. It's a powerful book. Again, the book is A Silencing White Noise. The author is Willie, Dwayne, Francois III. You can get the book on Amazon. We're going to give away a book. Make sure you put hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Now, I'm going to take 2 more questions because I need to wind down. But hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers for the free book giveaway. But everybody's not going to win a book. So, because we know that, we want you to buy the book for someone else. And Bishop Pearson said he'll give away the audio version of a book, an audio copy, right? So we want that to be able to happen. So I guess we'll do that tonight. Tonight we'll draw 2 people in. If more people say they're going to make a purchase for someone, then we'll do more. We've done this before. And so we want to do it like that. But yes, folks are already purchasing. Yes, I see that. Folks are already purchasing in a big way. And so we're grateful for that. Now, again, I'll take 2 questions. If you have them, they need to be quick. But I want to get back to the content of the book. And I know we can't go through every chapter. And I'm going to say what the chapters are, entice the people to buy the book. And then I want you to talk about one of the chapters in particular again.
Good.
And encounter.
Can you hear her, Pastor? I can't.
I can't. I think we lost her.
That's never happened before on this. You were doing that a minute ago.
Really?
You would freeze up for a second, but nobody froze up this long. Oh, she had to go. Are we still on?
You guys are still on. I think she's just having a little bit of technical difficulty. So continue your conversation and I will work on getting her back.
Do you know what chapter she wanted you to address?
I don't know which one.
Whatever is your favorite one.
So the chapters, the chapter is Bishop. I think
I'm
Bishop,
back. Here I go. So let me breeze through. I don't know what happened. That's never happened before. But chapter 3 is pattern recognition, honoring our interdependence. Chapter 4 is syncopated identity, exploring our fuller selves. Chapter 5 is pulse to risk, sacrificing our power and privilege. And chapter 6, downbeat truth, naming our complicity with racism. And that is what I want you to talk about. Amen. Naming our complicity with racism.
Yeah, it also is one of my favorite chapters. In that chapter, I try to help us think about these 6 practices, these 6 rhythms, as the makings of what it means to be a good ally, what it means to be a good accomplice, or what it means to be a good self-ally. How do I advocate for myself? And it was important for me to name how hard it is to tell on yourself, right? How hard it is to be honest about those moments where you actually don't live up to your greatest sense of justice, where you don't live up to your greatest sense of values. I remember I was doing a lecture in Kentucky, and at the end of the lecture, this white man stands up. It says, "Thank you, Reverend Francois. You were preaching to the choir tonight." He said, you need to give this message to those other white folk. And I paused for a moment and said, well, even the choir needs rehearsal. In the sense that all of us believe that we can graduate out of our gaps in awareness, that we believe we graduate out of our own power and privilege just accidentally, but it's the kind of work that we must do over and over and over again. I always love to say that, yes, I am a Black man, and I understand that being Black comes with some levels of marginalization. That's the marginal part of my identity. But I'm a man, and I benefit from male privilege. I'm middle class. I benefit from middle class privilege.
Good point.
I'm an American citizen. I benefit from citizenship privilege. Yeah. And so it is always important to figure out what are the ways that my privilege get in the way to the point that I can't be the best anti-racist that I want to be. How do I make sure that my sexism doesn't get in the way to the point that my anti-racism doesn't live as fully as it can? How does my heteronormativity get in the way that won't disallow me to do the work of anti-racism? Because if I am not able, how does my cisgender identity get in the way so that I'm not able to do the work of clear anti-racism? That we have to see ourselves as intersectional beings. What do I mean by that? That we have multiple identities that are at work at a single time. And so I can never allow my marginalization as a Black person to cancel out my privilege as a man, my privilege as somebody who identifies as American, my identity as a middle class person. And so I have to be always staring in the moral mirror and being willing to tell on myself when those other isms are speaking through me and working through me. I consider myself an ally in so many areas, an accomplice for justice in so many areas, but none of those things, my identity as an ally, one who wants to practice the incarnation of God in the world, right? As one who sees himself as an embodiment of God's creativity. I never want my power and my privilege to complicate how I want to live fully as someone committed to justice, not just racial justice, but committed to all areas of justice.
So essentially, you're just saying to us that we need to be able, and I see you, Dr. Martha Simmons, we need to be able to name our privilege, because it's not just white privilege, right? you already just said, as a Black man, you have privilege, right? You have privilege as a man, right? And you both have privilege over me, right? As a woman, right? So we have to be able to identify and name our privilege. I'm looking for that one question. I see somebody had a question, and then they said you answered the question already. So I think that was good. Thank you very much. I'm looking for that one question. But in the meantime, if we don't get that one question, I'm still going to encourage you all to purchase the book. We're going to do a book giveaway on tonight. We're going to make sure that book gets to you. And then we're going to actually give away two things. So Bishop Pearson said he is willing to purchase an audio book for someone. And then Pastor Willie, Dwayne, Francois is giving away a book on tonight. And I have just encouraged you all, if you would, to make a purchase for someone else and gift someone on tonight, if you will. Now, I want to have final remarks, if I can, from Bishop Pearson, and then I'll let Pastor Willie have the final remark. Thank you so much.
The late Jimi Hendrix said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Right? There's a power struggle in this country, from those who've held it for hundreds of years to those who are now putting a new grasp on a new way of holding power and welding it. And that's the biggest battle that we're fighting. But we must learn first. Now, we don't learn to love. You forget to love and learn to hate. We just need to remember to love and to let love prevail. I close with that.
Thank you. Dr. Francois?
I just have to echo Bishop, and that's the work, the work of reparative intercession, the work of silencing white noise is the work of love, public love, right? How do we begin to allow love to guide our engagement that honors difference, that takes seriously history? Love that understands our interdependence. Love that says, I want to explore the fullness of my identity, not just the parts of my identity that I want people to know. A love that sacrifices power and privilege as an act of holiness, and love that's able to name our complicity with racism and how racism intersects with all the other isms that have the power and the history of destroying lives. And that's how we create hope. That's how James Baldwin talks about inventing hope every day. Love helps us invent hope every single day.
Beautiful. Get in some good trouble, everybody.
Indeed. Now, someone asked, where could they purchase the audio book? Because they cannot find it.
The audiobook is available for purchase as far as I saw this morning. It's available for purchase via Amazon. So when you are, I know it's for sure via Amazon, but Christian Audio was the one contracted to push that into the world by the publisher. So if for some reason you can't find it on Amazon, Christian Audio is the company, and you should be able to download it from their page. But as of this morning, I did see it available on Amazon.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Bishop Pearson.
I don't know how to. I'll just send the money to you, Bishop.
I'll take care of it. Yeah, yes, sir.
You'll take the money. All right, I'll send it to you. Tell me what it costs, and I'm gonna give me one too. She done froze up on me. I mentioned money, she froze up. Hey, girl.
I will. Okay.
Love you.
So listen, Bishop-elect Williams, you had a question, but I see that he's already answered what I love. Like, as you talk, they have questions, but you answered them in the midst of it. Listen, this has been a brilliant conversation. It's been wonderful. You have enlightened us. You have challenged us and moved us further along on our journey. And it is so appreciated. I feel challenged even within my own self, right? And I think that what it has done is, we tend to point our finger a lot at people, right? And we tend to cry out about white privilege and all the things. And yes, it is true. It is existing. White supremacy exists. White nationalism, white Christian nationalism, all of it all exists. It's all really happening. But while we're pointing the finger at someone else, we have four fingers pointing back at us. Yeah. And so we need to take an introspect. And sometimes it's difficult to look inside of your own self. But when you do that, you'll also find answers as well. So thank you tonight, Bishop Pearson, so much for your time. We certainly miss Bishop Flunder on tonight, but we appreciate the fact that she trusts us to move on. And thank you so much, Pastor Willie, Dwayne, Francois III. We certainly will continue to support your book. And we're going to go to our advertisement, and then we're going to do our book giveaways. Thank you so much. And so thank you for supporting us tonight, Beyond the Gatekeepers. We have this broadcast every single week. By the grace of God, we come. If, for some reason we cannot make it, we let you know. But for the most part, we're here every week. And so we ask that you send a donation via Cash App to $TFAM annual or to PayPal at www.paypal.me/TFAM Justice. And someone asked before, what is the purpose in us sowing a seed? So this work can continue, so that we can lift this show up to other platforms. We want to be streamed. We want to make sure that we get out more into the world so that people can see. We want to see if there will be a network or a streaming company that will pick us up. And so this is what our work goes towards, right? And also to get more artists to come in, more authors to come in. We are doing the work of justice, and we are so grateful to what we have been experiencing. And so we ask that you donate into what you have seen and what you have heard. And you can always go back and listen again if you missed on tonight. And we so appreciate you. Again, $Cash App, $TFAM annual. That's $TFAM annual, or to our PayPal at www.paypal.me/TFAM Justice. Thank you, Bullet in Flight Radio. You can also find Beyond the Gatekeepers on Bullet in Flight Radio. And so we appreciate you so much, Dominic, and all of those that you work with. We have Lifestyle Properties, Lifestyle Global Properties. The owner and operator of that is Antonio Mattier. And they are saying, give to your church while accomplishing your goal of home ownership. And so Lifestyle Global Properties will donate 10% of the commission earned from your real estate transaction to your choice of COR, which is City of Refuge, or TFAM, which is the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, in your name when you utilize our brokerage to purchase or sell a property, residential or commercial, in California or Georgia. Please go to his website, Antonio at AntonioMattier.com. Or if you have more interest, you can just shoot him an email, and his email address is his email address is Antonio at AntonioMattier.com. His website is www.antoniomattier.com. And so we appreciate you so very much, Antonio, for what you're doing. Again, 10% donations will go to either COR or to TFAM if you're selling a commercial or residential property. And we have Tuesday Night Talks, TNT, Tuesday Night Talks, RIM Fellowship UCC for a RIM virtual experience. They're inviting you every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for everyday, real, relevant Bible-led conversations. Their senior pastor is Bishop-elect Sonia E. Williams, who you can find with us pretty much every week. We appreciate that so very much. And you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at RIM Fellowship UCC. Please go to their website, www.rimatlanta.org, to find out about more programming and ways of giving. Thank you so much. God bless. We have the Healing Place Apothecary. This is a company that has been founded by Nubian Flunder. She's the daughter of our presiding bishop, Bishop Flunder. And you can go to her website at www.THP, which stands for the Healing Place Apothecary.com. That's www.THPapothecary.com. You will find product for your skin: black soap, rose water, daily greens, rocher souffle, daily fruit, root oil. So you want to go and check out their website and make a purchase. Thank you. Support Black businesses. And then we have Sky Michelle. Sky Michelle is the kid boss of Sky Michelle Teas and Things. Go to her website at www.skymichelle.com. Follow her on Facebook or Instagram at I Am Sky Michelle, and you will see this baby rocking it out with a back to school collection. I know you got kids, and so if you do, they have t-shirts out coming into first grade, let's do it, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, have new t-shirts on Protect Kids, Not Guns. This baby is ready to get y'all back in shape. Go to the website and purchase a shirt for your son, for your daughter, for your niece, for your nephew, for your grandchildren, your godchildren. Again, www.skymichelle.com. Support Black businesses. And then we have Inspire. Inspire is by Cara. Cara Solutions is owned and operated and founded by Sue A. Webley, who is one of our producers, but she's the host of Inspire. And she's highlighting BIPOC entrepreneurs, influencers, and creatives on a mission to change their communities and the world. You can watch her live on Saturday, August 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And you can watch her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And so, as well as LinkedIn. You can listen later on Spotify, on Amazon Music, and on Google Podcasts. And her guest is Trinell Doyle. She's the founder of Go Girl Ride. Trinell Doyle, founder of Go Girl Ride. Please listen in on Saturday morning. And then you can also go and play it back at your leisure. Thank you so much. And then if you want to advertise with Beyond the Gatekeepers, you can do so by emailing us at beyondthegatekeepersshow.com@gmail.com. That's beyondthegatekeepersshow@gmail.com. Once again, we're going to do this giveaway, this book giveaway. We're so appreciative. We're going to do two. One is for the audio book. The other one will be for the physical book. So make sure you have hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers so that you can be a part of this giveaway tonight. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Don't leave us. Make sure that you get in on this. Here we go. Marlene C. McLaurin is the winner. Marlene C. McLaurin. Marlene, I know you have done this many times. You've been a winner before. And so we're grateful for your presence and your consistency in joining us. Please go to the Beyond the Gatekeepers Facebook page, hit our inbox and our messenger, and make sure that you put your full address in. We'll get that book to you. And so now we want to give away for the audio. Make the audio purchase. Michael Christian, if you're with us, Michael Christian, I want to make sure that we connect. Do me a favor, go to the Beyond the Gatekeepers page, go to the message page, make sure you put your name and your address so that we can get that information out to you, so you can make sure we get you that audio version of the book. And so we thank everyone tonight for your participation. We are so grateful for Willie Dwayne Francois III and his book, Silencing White Noise, and grateful for the fact that he is a millennial under 40 years old and doing this work in a very serious way. And so we're going to come back on next week by the grace of God, and we're going to come back with, I believe, Dr. Carrie Day is our guest for next week. She's got a new book out. And I know you've reimagining Azusa. I know you've heard about it before. If you don't, you've got time to get the book before she even comes on. And we want to make sure that we are here on next week. Again, thank you for your love and your support of Beyond the Gatekeepers. We say God bless you and do have a wonderful evening.